2019 was like a pinnacle year for me. I made like 792,000. It's always been my dream to like just travel the world. It's actually possible, like if you have the right attitude and the right systems and processes in place, and most importantly, the right team and the right business partners, you can do this job from anywhere in the world. Conversion might not be something you can control your first year, but activity is something you can control. And there's always going to be a correlation between activity and conversion. I think in this industry, like input really equals output. That's my advice to first year agents. And I'm going to retire from this industry once I hit $1 billion.
Thank you, Ed, for hopping on with me today. I want you to actually give the audience a little bit of an introduction. Tell the audience who you are, what you do.
Hey guys, Sean, first and foremost, I follow you and I'm a big fan. So you inviting me to be a part of this podcast means a lot. You taught me a lot about social media that has really, really helped me in terms of my growth. But for everyone listening in, my name's Ed. So I'm one of the managing partners at Kinetic Real Estate. I actually am also the founder of Level Up Real Estate Consulting. I help new agents kind of, just become more skillful in this industry. And, I'm just a producing realtor and, right now traveling the world and have been able to do that after 3 years of like the grind and production, but I'm definitely still out there in the field. But yeah, just super excited to be here.
Thank you, Ed. You're so humble, by the way, that you would take time out of your busy day. I know how crazy of a calendar you have and a schedule you have and how much traveling you're doing. Yeah, thank you so much. I really do truly appreciate you being here. Now, with that being said, tell me how you got into real estate first and foremost, and what were you doing before that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sean, I come from an interesting background. So a lot of people know or don't know, I actually have been licensed since 2016. But for the longest time, I think from 2012 all the way up to 2021, like right during the pandemic, I was actually working for Travel and Leisure. So I was a marketing manager for Travel and Leisure. And then I transitioned to sales. I was actually selling timeshare, to be honest with you. But
Wow.
I learned a lot about, sales and the client experience, and Travel and Leisure was a really, really great company. So I was doing that between 2016 to 2020. And then just being open with sharing this, I thought I was going to be in that industry for a very long time. I say this humbly. I was number 8 out of 3,000 agents there with Travel and Leisure. And 2019 was like a pinnacle year for me. I made like 792,000, W-2. I was 29 years old at the time. And I thought like, hey, this is perfect. I'm gonna cruise here. Like this is good. And then the pandemic hit, and our sales office in San Francisco closed. And I told myself, man, I really have to figure this out. And I went through multiple pivots. Like I did tech sales. I worked for Salesforce and did pretty well there. I even went to law school for a year, which is crazy. And then and did well, right? Did Dean's List and all of that stuff. But I realized in 2021, this was around October, I said to myself, you know what? Like at that time, if I did end up proceeding with law school and finishing, like even if I worked for like the best law firm in the country, like my income was going to be like 160. And I realized that it's like, oh, the return on investment isn't here. I was making like 790 in sales and then doing like 160. I was like, shoot, I have a real estate license. Why don't I just give this thing a shot? So I started my real estate career in 2021, and it just kind of, shocked me. My first year, I was able to do 51 transactions all of 2022. And I know that that's like an industry statement because the average that a realtor will do their first year is, 6 deals. But I was very fortunate to have had good mentors and, who took me under their wing. And I really gave it my all. And after 2 deals, I went full time into real estate. So it's been quite the journey, but everything happens for a reason.
Yes, it does. This seems to be a pattern of what you're doing. You're a top producer everywhere you go, it seems like, and you just outperform everyone. I just saw a post that you posted out of 6,000 agents, you're within the top 10 in the country.
Absolutely.
In a short amount of time. Now, let's get back a little bit to this. How did you get to this in your first year to sell 51 homes? What was your ways of generating leads and just following up with that many people and closing that many sales?
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm a very like systems oriented person, and I really believe in processes. And I think that in terms of making sure that you have the right systems and processes in place to run a successful business, combined with very, very good sales and, client relationship skills has really, really helped me. My first year, out of those 51, I can kind of tell you the spread. So 50% of my deals, so about 25 to 26 of my deals that first year actually came from referrals and SOI. And then the other 25% came from open houses. Like I hustled through open houses my first year. And I was the kind of person who made sure that like, hey, Ed, if you tell yourself that, January 1st happens and you're going to do 6 open house shifts and you're not going to stop until you have 20 ABC leads that month, then you don't stop until you get those 20 ABC leads. And fortunately, it worked out because my first year, I think I ended up with 14 deals just from open house.
Wow.
And we had a partner with Zillow as well. So now I think I'm not really doing a lot of the online leads anymore. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm still here to work online leads. But my first year, I got a lot of my transactions from Zillow. Okay. But I also think that was the year that I took for social media. And, we did that awesome program together. And man, that has really helped, Sean, because if you think about referrals and SOI, right? Everybody will say that their lead source is referrals and SOI. But when you're thinking about your business and when you're kind of forecasting how many leads you're going to get within one given month, there's an entry point of how you actually meet your SOI and your referrals. So it's not like they're just going to call you and like, hey, Ed, I know you from 10 years ago. You just happened to be in my phone book. And for some reason, I know that you're a realtor now, so I'm calling. That's not really how it works. A lot of them actually reached out to me through social media. So I will say that first year, out of the 26 deals that I got from referrals and SOI, I would say 75 to 80% of those actually started from an Instagram DM. So,
jeez. Yeah. So you're killing it. And I love watching your stuff. If you guys haven't seen Ed's content, first of all, you're the best storyteller on there. I love it. And that's what branding and building a brand's all about. And I love the Tiffany boxes. Nobody is doing what you're doing. There's nobody guarantee it. There's no one doing what you're doing. So it's such a memorable brand. I love exactly what you just mentioned. So awesome. That's a killer first year. And then the second year rolls along. And then now I've just been watching you travel the world. Let's talk about this. Kind of goes along with what you were doing before, but now you're just a passenger just going all over the place.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so crazy. And I think, as you know, if you guys follow me like on social media, you're going to see that my very first pin post, like I share this story about taking this remote year journey. And this actually came with a lot of planning. So it was January of 2024 when I decided it's always been my dream to like spend 1 year to like go on a part-time sabbatical and just travel the world. And I laid it all out, right? It's like, dang, like I had so many fears at that time. If you go through my post, Sean, you'll actually see that the year prior, I did about 100 deals, with partnerships and whatnot. So 100 deals gross. And
impressive.
Yeah. And when I made that announcement, I said that, hey, you know what? Like Ed Barreto here, I'm going to go on this remote year specifically from July 2024 to June 2025. So I'm in the middle of it right now. And I said that one of my goals was, even though I'm going on this remote year, I want to close at least 20 deals still, right? And it's so funny. And I say this humbly, like 3 months into that remote year, not even 3 months, like 2.5 months into that remote year, I was already at 20 transactions in a course of 2.5 months, right? And I'm just like, oh shit, like it's actually possible, like if you have the right attitude and the right systems and processes in place, and most importantly, the right team and the right business partners, you can do this job from anywhere in the world. And that's why when I posted that about being in the top 10 out of 6,000 realtors nationwide, I did this post where it's like, this recognition means a lot, but I think the timing of this recognition matters more because I want to be that person who could prove to this industry that as long as the client experience and the client journey is at the core and with the right systems and team in place, you can do this job from anywhere in the world.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you, Ed. And how did you find the people to surround yourself with that you trusted?
Yeah. So now the way that I have it is is I'm very like methodical with my calendar, and I'm happy to walk you through that. So actually these last 5 months, I would say like 50 to 60% of the time, I'm either in Hawaii or I'm in some part of the world, because my goal, and I'm like, dude, this has to happen. I have to travel to 30 countries between July through June. I'm actually at country number 10 now, but I'm going to go on a cruise next month. So that'll power through 4 countries.
Nice.
And then I have 16 more to go during the second half. And so that's one of my goals. But the way that I structure it is the first 5 months, I 50 to 60% of the time, like I'm somewhere traveling in the world. And the other half, I am still in the Bay Area.
Okay.
That's going to change though, because starting January, I'm going to go like travel 21 days out of the month and then 9 days in the Bay Area, just to get this like travel bug out, just this one year. But when I'm here, I just make sure that I'm focusing on new business activities, meaning I'm meeting with new potential clients. So I have VIP buyers that I make sure that when I'm doing the first set of showings, that I'm the one to meet them before I introduce them to a team member. If I have upcoming listing appointments, I want to make sure that I'm there and present for the listing appointments as well. And pretty much just anything with my listings that I'm in prep phase for, or my VIP buyers, or having strategic meetings with my team and my business partners, I make sure I schedule that out so that it happens when I'm here in the US. And then before I leave, I come up with like a delegation plan to ensure that, okay, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. So my calendar is already set. It's like, hey, we have escrow number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are my business partners. And I just make sure to delegate, and I make sure that everyone is aligned. But I think what's made it possible is every deal that I do now, at least just for this 1 year, like I would say like 80% of the deals that I do is partnered. So I always have someone who's on site and in the US who can kind of, assist me through the transactions as well. But as far as identifying a team, it's just, I work with some really, really great agents, and I'm so grateful and blessed for them. So they've been able to really, really help me fulfill this. And I'll do the same for them. It's like, if they want to travel, I always say like, hey, please go for it. And when I'm in the US, let's just match our calendars and we could make this happen without sacrificing the client experience. Because I think regardless, that's always going to be at the core.
I mean, your work speaks for itself. How many did you close last year? You said 100 deals last year, 100 plus, right?
100 plus gross. Yeah. That's with
amazing.
like, partnerships and all of that. But
man, that's incredible. And then you did this, you said you did 20 in your first, while you're traveling. Like your organization and your systems have to be absolutely, it's so dialed in. I want to know, like, is there like a certain app that you use, or is there something that you have to keep everything all dialed in, or what's the secret sauce?
You know what, Sean? Like, yes, I use Follow Up Boss, but believe it or not, I'm really big on Google Sheets. Like, I have these lists that I'm happy to share with you. I think one thing you taught me and what we talked about is I have a social media tracker now, and then I've had an open house tracker, but I feel like now, of course, it's a little bit different because I'm traveling. Because I know that I am like a lead generator. For me, it's kind of like one of my skills is acquiring new business, and once the lead is procured, then I could say, hey, I'm still going to work very closely with you, but I'm going to introduce me to my business partner, and the clients really love that. So I make sure that even when I'm here in the Bay, I'm still doing open house. Like I feel that a lot of my listing and my buyer clients still come from there. So I try to do as much as I can. But I'll tell you about these trackers, and I think this is really what helped me my first year. I'm really, really tactical. So I have 4 trackers. I have a social media tracker. I have an open house tracker. I have a listing lifetime value tracker, and I have a business partner tracker. So my advice to first year agents is, number one, like, this business might seem business to consumer, but it could also be seen as a B2B business, which means a business to business, partnership as well. So if you're a new agent, I think within your first 3 months, you should really identify your top 20 business partners in this space that you're going to nurture and partner with. It's a give and take. You provide value and they'll give value to you, and it has to be done genuinely. And that means like, hey, who are my referral partners out of state? Who are the divorce and estate planning attorneys that I could partner with, that I will make sure that I nurture and build a relationship with? Who are like the mortgage brokers in the lending space that I could partner with, that I could, give business to, and they could give me business? So who are those top 20? It doesn't have to be a big list, but it's like, who's that top 20, and how do you make sure that your relationship with them is solid?
Oh yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. And then, because I know you're like the king of social media. And I look up to you so much for that too.
No, stop.
Yeah. Now I have a social media tracker where like I tell myself like, hey Ed, if you tell yourself on January 1st that you're going to post 20 times, you have to post 20 times, right? Because I'm a big believer that like conversion might not be something you can control your first year, but activity is something you can control. And there's always going to be a correlation between activity and conversion. So I do this social media tracker of like, hey, like, you know, post number 1, I just do a description. And I even do a post type. Like, is it a post? Is it a photo carousel? Like, is it a reel? And then I do like pillars. Like my pillars right now is like, you know, real estate, travel, level up consulting, you know, friends and family, you know, health and fitness, right? And then like the purpose, right? So what is the reason for me posting this? Is it because I want to educate? Is it because I want to entertain? Is it because I want to inspire? And then even though I'm not like crazy, it's not like I have like hundreds and thousands of followers on social media. I just want to put really, really good and genuine content out there. So I do track the activity. And I think this is something that I learned from you, even like with, how to post stories, or, you know, how to make your reels and your posts a little bit more engaging. So I do that. And then I have an open house tracker to make sure that like, hey, if you say that you're going to do 6 open house shifts, did you do the 6 open house shifts or did you not do the 6 open house shifts? And I train my team on this as well. And then I kind of track like out of the leads that I get from open house, how many of them turned into pre-approvals, how many of them turned into buyer broker agreements, and how many of them turned into actual listings and listing appointments. So I have a way of tracking that, and we could go on and on, but the other one is like listing lifetime value and client lifetime value. I'm a big believer, and this is just like my tactical thought process in terms of how you can duplicate and get more business, right? I'm a firm believer that if you have one listing, you should always get 2 more transactions from that one listing. If you have one buyer, you should get 2 more transactions from that one buyer transaction. So I keep track of like, hey, I got this listing. How do I make sure that I get 2 more transactions from this listing, right? And you know, you're a top producer, you know.
That is gold, Ed. You've been giving so much information, so much value right now for the audience. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of this. Ed, what you said you have a level up consulting business as well.
Yep.
Tell me more about that. Tell the audience how they can find you. Is that through on your Instagram? They could find that through Instagram and whatnot?
Sure. Yeah. You could actually follow me on my Instagram. It's ebarreto_25. And my second pin post talks about level up real estate consulting. I think the value that I really bring, I've had about 45 students now graduate from that course, and it makes me happy. Of course, like I'm still going to sell real estate, right? I told myself, like, I'm not stopping until I sell $1 billion. I have 800 more million to go, Sean. So 200 million in 3 years is pretty impressive, but
that is impressive.
I'm going to retire from this industry once I hit $1 billion. So
Let's
I don't know.
Go.
Hopefully, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know.
Sooner than that with your work ethic.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I teach new agents, and a lot of my course is really focused on, you know, negotiations and systems and processes and sales. So it's just nice to know that the people who have graduated from that course, they're actually doing well. And I'm so proud of them.
Oh, I bet.
I've even done deals with them.
Oh my God. That is amazing. And guess what? They're probably going to be booking out a year's full of travel just like you, because they're learning from the best. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's my goal for them.
You got a nice tan, by the way. That probably helps too when you're at the open houses and when you're talking to clients. You got a nice little
For sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah, especially like recently I've been going to Asia. So
wow. Oh my goodness. And you're Filipino, yes?
Yeah, full Filipino. You are too, right, Sean?
We're both Filipino, and the reason why I love watching you and watching your content too is the things that you've done for not just for yourself and also for your organization, for the people around you, but also for your parents. The story that you told about that and giving back, buying them their dream home, and tell the audience you are a giver, by the way. So I do want the audience to know, like, you're not just all here to make this money, but you're also here to give back to people, and it's it truly comes back when you do give.
Absolutely. No, Sean, that it's good we're touching on that. Like this job, I share with new agents many times that this industry is what you make it. If you really think about it, what someone will take 15 years to earn, a top producing realtor can earn in 1 year. And that's powerful, right? But you can't just be all about money. Like, I really believe that, yes, it's important. It's important to strive for like income goals, but you always have to reflect, like, if I'm making this much money, right? $1 million a year or whatever, like 500,000 or 300,000, wherever you're at in your business, you have to think about ways to give not a portion of that back, but just always do a heart check to make sure that you're also giving back to the community. And so when I did this remote year, I always told myself that if I'm going to do this and I'm going to travel the world, I also want it to be a meaningful experience. So something that I'm doing is I have these, as you can see, I'm almost out, but I bought 100 Tiffany boxes and I'm like 60% done.
Wow.
And then I said that for every real estate client that I'm able to assist, for every referral that I'm able to get, for every new level up consulting client that I get, I'm going to gift them a Tiffany box. And as a symbol of giving back, for every one of these that I give, I'm actually gifting a 1-year scholarship to a student in the Philippines from some of the most underserved communities in the Philippines. As you know, the Philippines is made up of so many islands. And there's this foundation that I really, really support. It's called Yellow Boat of Hope. And these are not people from like, Manila, where they could like commute and take the Jeep to school. These are people who have to literally swim across like bodies of water to get to school. And that foundation really like touched my heart. So I said that as a goal and in conjunction with this like remote year travel, I'm going to feel, like it's just going to be a really good feeling if I could provide 100 scholarships to the Philippines before the end of this year. So I'm actually going to be traveling there in a couple of months because I'm trying to find a way to be present when the scholarships are given out. I hope to kind of document that as it's a special, experience. And then also giving back to my parents, like one of the things is like I own a home and we really come from humble beginnings. And honestly, Sean, there's a video you posted and I really admire your story because I know like you started with, washing cars and, like getting into the car industry and doing so well, right? And then transitioning to real estate. I remember that because I think there's a lot of similarities like in our backgrounds. Dude, I've experienced what it's like living in a fixer, like living in a cosmetic fixer, to the point that it was my dad and I here first in 1996, and then my siblings followed, and then my mom finally came in 2005. But there was a time that my parents rented out like a cosmetic fixer. It's like a 3-bedroom in San Jose for $1,000. They couldn't even, and I say this like vulnerably, like they couldn't even afford paying $1,000 in rent. Like my dad had 2 jobs and my mom was like a KitchenAid. And so they had to rent out the 2 rooms. So that way they rented one room out for $300, another room for $300. So their rent ended up being $400. Like my sister and I shared a living room and then my brother had the other living room. So it's like, that's why I love real estate, because my parents never owned a home. We were renting our whole lives and we were living in this place and made $1 an hour at 12 years old selling cell phone cases at the flea market. Like back then when I was young, I was like, oh, why me? Like all my friends, like they get to travel. And I was so jealous of that. But when you get older, you realize that it's like, oh, that's why. The higher being has given me like that challenge at a young age, because there was a plan for me to be successful and to give back.
Oh, yeah.
When I turned, now. So buying a home for them was really special because my parents didn't become homeowners until 66 and 67 years old, but they cried. They cried a lot.
I remember watching the video, Ed. It's truly touching to see what you're doing, and it is inspirational content, and I love just seeing people win.
Yeah.
And like you said, your end has already been determined, and it happened to us at an early age where we had to go through the struggle, but it built us to where we are today. And so thank you for sharing everything that you're doing. I'm going to make sure to drop your links in the description below so you could get a hold of Ed. I'll have your Instagram link down below, but also where else can they get a hold of you?
I think the best place, like I'm all through social media, but I would say the best place is Instagram. That's where I do a lot of my communication. So DM me, hit me up there.
Awesome. One last piece of advice or anything yet that you want to close out with before we get off?
Yeah, for sure. I think I said it earlier, like I think in this industry, like input really equals output. That's my advice to first year agents. And there's this quote of like, you don't eat the fruit the day that you plant the seed. And I really am a big believer in that. And the other one is like, conversion might not be something you can control, but activity is. If you think about real estate, it's like a 3-month waiting period. If it's December and you're not getting escrows in December, you have to think about what you are doing in September. If it's January and you're not getting escrows in January, you have to think about what you are doing in October. So whatever you do now, right? Like we're approaching 2025. If you want to have like a killer 2025, or to whoever is listening, activity is something you can control, and activity is something you could do now. Strong Q1.
Activity breeds activity. That's what I love to say is you stay active and you start doing the things will end up flowing your way, but you have to put in the work. You have to do the activities like you said. Thank you, Ed, for sharing everything. If you want to become a top producer like Ed, find him on Instagram, get a hold of him, ask him, join his level up.
Yeah.
Definitely join his level up. That if you do want to level up your career, it sounds like everybody's changing their lives. So thank you, Ed, for sharing that. And thank you for hopping on. But yes, we will see you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. Have a good day.
You too.